realized this year, sorry, that's okay. What I realized previous years is that even though you have a college application deadline of November 1st, I've been very selfish. I've always wanted my students to apply no later than October 15th. And this year, for the first time, colleges have said we are reviewing applications before the deadline. So I'm sure you've heard of Penn State, you've heard of Rutgers, TCNJ, UPenn, SUNY Binghamton. They've all given decisions to kids who applied before October 15th. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. Something that I do with my clients is let's get everything done. All right. So the summer that's coming up for all the juniors, it's a busy summer for you. You need to get your common application done. You need to get your essay done. Because if you decide to do this in September, October of your senior year, it's going to be a little bit overwhelming here. All right. So just keep that in mind here. So,
I think we're good to start.
all right, then I'm going to start since I kind of already started here. All right. So welcome. And I should have said it. I apologize. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So I just want to give a big shout out to Sister Lamia. Thank you. Coordinating things behind the scenes is never easy, especially when you're dealing with someone like me who's stuck in traffic. So I apologize. I gave myself time, but Clifton is a nightmare at times. All right. All right. So being a school counselor at Model High School, I give presentations all the time, specifically in January to rising seniors or current juniors. Big thing here that I always want to keep in mind here is that you have to take in this process step by step. If you decide to say, I'm applying to colleges on October 15th, I've done no research, I haven't visited any schools, I haven't discussed it with my parents, I don't know what location, what state, what geography I'm looking at, this process can be overwhelming. So we really need to kind of keep things in process. So basically, since everyone here is a junior, this is kind of like a timeline here. There's no secret recipe of what colleges are looking for. They want good grades, they want test scores, and they want extracurriculars, right? They want students, they look at students holistically and they want the complete package. Yes. No, it's okay.
But the ones that don't require the SAT, I think they still want the test scores.
Okay, so that is a very popular question. So here's what I will say. Test optional is an option, but if you have the test scores that are within the middle 40th, 50th percentile, you want to send those scores in. So I'll use you as an example. Let's say both of us are applying to Villanova, right? An elite school. We both have a 3.9 GPA. We've done volunteer, National Honor Society. We have, extracurriculars in school, out of school, all of that. If you submit your SAT score of a 1400 and I don't, who do you think they're picking? You provided an extra piece of information. Now, the reason why I didn't submit my test scores is pretty simple. They're not good. That's it. There's no mystery behind it here. So when a school says we're test blind, yeah, sure, they can be. But if you provide that SAT score or ACT score, you just created more data for them. All right. This college admission process is all about numbers, data, and also something called documented interest. So I'll use Rutgers as an example. All right. Take Princeton out of the equation. Rutgers is the most popular school in the state of New Jersey because of the location, the size, what it offers, and the tuition. Thank you. You got it right there. So Rutgers says, we don't even want to know your letters of recommendation. We don't accept it. We're going to look at your GPA. We're going to look at your course rigor. And we want test scores. All right. Now, Rutgers will say, yeah, we accept kids, without test scores. They kind of have to, they do. But their strongest programs, their PharmD programs, their bio programs, their business programs, they're looking for test scores. So for those of you who truly are not good test takers, you're going to pivot and apply to schools that are test optional. But it's in your best interest to take, all the juniors said you took your PSATs. You probably got your scores back already in your College Board account. So now is the time to say, all right, if my top 3 schools, the average is about a 1360, 1370, that's what you're shooting for. That's what you need to prep. That's what you need to game plan for. If you're coming in at a 1320, all right, I would probably still say, you know what? If you're still in that 20 to 30th percentile, I would send it. All right. But it depends on really what the schools are. All right. If you're applying to NYU, no, you're not going in. You got to come in with a 1480 minimum. So test scores are definitely important. But someone like me, back in when I applied to colleges, excuse me, there was no such thing as test optional. And test optional was only created because of the pandemic. That's it. So it and then you have to look at it from the business perspective. Colleges said, oh my God, if we actually make our school test optional, we can generate a lot more money in application fees. So Rutgers is a school where they would generate about 40,000 applications. Now they're close to 100,000 applications. So it's a multi-million-dollar business. So keep that in mind. Test scores are important. All right. So let me kind of go back here. Grades are the most important thing. All right. Colleges are looking for grades. They want to see that you are challenging yourself. So if you're the type of student who, again, not trying to trigger anyone here, but if your freshman and sophomore year were not the best, your junior year needs to be your best year. It's the last set of grades colleges see when they are making your determination. So if you got a C in physical education 9 or a C plus in personal finances, all right, these things matter. All right. So anytime I meet with a freshman, when I meet with them, I'll always say middle school doesn't count, high school counts. Get involved, maximize your ability. Number 2, develop the most rigorous course schedule within your ability. I can't have a student who tells me all of a sudden, hey, Mr. Jalil, I've never taken any AP classes before. I want to take 5 in my senior year. They will crash out, all right, and they will burn. You need to develop the best plan within your ability. Taking 4 years of math, 4 years of science, 3 to 4 years of world language, which I know I get a lot of resistance on, all right, is part of course rigor. You can't just say, I'm going to take the easiest classes and get a high GPA. Colleges look right through that. Let's go right over here. All right. So when I talk about this here, this is a little bit repetitive. Test scores, it's important. Extracurriculars, colleges hate, and I want to repeat this, hate a student who has a 4.2 GPA and 0 extracurriculars. They want a student who comes to their campus and say, this student is going to be a dynamic member on our campus, right? Based on their high school credentials, we know they're really well balanced. Colleges do not want a student who's going to study in their dorms all day and produce nothing on campus. So if you're that student who says, I take a lot of pride in my grades, that's wonderful, no doubt about that. But you need to show your leadership. You need to show your extracurriculars both in high school and outside of high school. And that's something that needs to be advertised. All right, next one, teacher and counselor recommendations. We always talk about this, or I should say, I always talk about this. You want to have meaningful relationships with your teachers in your building here. All right. So when you think about your recommendation letter, especially for my juniors here, or I should say, colleges do not want a rec letter from your English 9 or your freshman year teachers or your 10th grade teachers. They want your junior year teachers. Everything is the latest information. And I can say this to you, I think I might be a little bit judgy here. The student that you are today as a junior, you're not the same student or the same person as you were freshman or sophomore year. So we don't want a recommendation letter from someone from your first 2 years. Stick to your junior year, right? College, just I get into a little bit, and then demonstrated interest. Has anyone here visited colleges unofficially or officially? Where'd you visit?
I visited TCNJ and NJIT.
Perfect. How about you? Which campus? Okay. So TCNJ. TCNJ will basically say they believe, and rightfully so, that they're on par or probably better than Rutgers in many, many aspects. The difference is they have less seats available. Because you visited TCNJ, right? You just now demonstrated interest in their school. So they keep a documentation of that to say, okay, you took the time to visit during your junior. Okay, you took the time to visit during your junior year. Now, I believe Richfield and Wayne, I know for sure, you're going to have college admission reps visit your high school in September and October. If you're applying to that school, that's the person who's reading your application. You have to meet with that person. And as soon as you meet with them, they're going to make you fill out a card, or I should say scan a card. All right. And they're going to say, oh, this student is applying to my school. They took the time to not only visit me or visit my campus, but meet with me when I visited your school. College admissions is all sales. All right. They visit your school because they want applications and they want to accept students here. So if you visited TCNJ and I didn't, and we both apply with the same credentials, I'm telling you, they're going to pick you every single time because you took the time to visit. All right. And then they'll throw you some incentive. Here's a free application waiver code. Thanks for stopping by, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to show demonstrated interest to colleges. Now, when you think about the elite schools, the Ivies, they don't care about that. All right. There's a reason why they have a 3 to 4% acceptance rate. But everything underneath that, all your Boston universities, Boston College, Northeastern, Rutgers, Villanova, Penn State, they keep track of your demonstrated interest. And now more and more colleges are keeping track of what you do on social media, if you follow them, if you like them. So these admission reps, I'll tell you, they're much, much younger than me. Most of these admission reps are recent graduates of colleges. So it's really kind of like their first entry level job. So they're 21, 22, 23. They're more into the social media than I am. So they expect students, especially juniors and seniors, to follow them on social media. That's how they make all their announcements. So demonstrated interest is important. Questions up to this point? All right, I'll get into the college essay in a bit here. All right, if you turn to the second page, try to fit it here. This is what a typical transcript looks like. Every high school has different ways of advertising it. So if you look at this sample student, okay, I assure you this is not my transcript, never was. I wish it was here. Your senior year courses will be listed on your quote initial transcript. So if I'm a college, I receive this transcript. The first thing I'm looking at is the senior year, and I'm working backwards. How did this student get to this point right here? So now when you look at it here, like, wow, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 APs, one honors course here. What led to this academic rigor? Go backwards. Look at freshman year. Everything was on the college prep level or standard with 2 honors courses. All right, grades are really good. Now we talk about course rigor. We went from 2 honors to 4 honors sophomore year. So now this student made the academic jump. They're saying, I did well freshman year. Now I'm increasing my course rigor. Based on their sophomore year success, they were then recommended for honors and AP courses. So now we have a combo, 3 AP, 3 honors. And now the college is looking at this and saying, this is really good. Because of this success, led to senior year. This doesn't include the college essay. This doesn't include the demonstrated interest. This doesn't include the test scores. All right. This doesn't include the extracurriculars. This is just one piece right here. All right. A question that I get a lot here is, does it look better if I get an 85 in an honors course versus a 95 in a regular course? The 85 in an honors course always looks better because honors and AP are much, much more challenging and difficult than a regular course. So keep this in mind that your junior year, this is the last set of grades I have here, meaning college is going to look at this and say, how do we get to this point? Right? You can't go back in time. You can't change freshman and sophomore year. You can change your junior year and you can change your senior year. And just a little word of advice here too. Because we're in college application season right now, most colleges are requesting students to send in their first quarter grades, which marking period 1 just ended, a week ago or this week. So you can't tank your senior year. You cannot do that. That's a myth. Or people say, oh, senior writers, it doesn't matter. Colleges are absolutely making sure that your first quarter grades and second quarter grades are up to par. So questions about that? Yes.
Do honors classes and AP classes have the same weight?
So high school is a little bit different. I will tell you from my high school, Marvel High School, if you take an AP course, we add 10 points, and honors, we add 8 points. So if your final grade was a 90 in AP physics, we're recalculating your GPA as a 100. So that's what we always encourage kids. If you can do it, even though you got an 80 or 81, we're giving you the weighted GPA because we understand that this was a much harder course. So my understanding is most high schools will give you the weighted GPA because of that. So when you think about your GPA, always go with the weighted GPA, especially if you're taking honors and AP courses, all right? Because that's really the true work that you've done right there. Other questions about this? All right, so the other person that's supposed to be here, Dr. Kaiser, he was going to talk to you about the college testing strategies and things like that there. So I don't want to steal his thunder, so I'll wait for him here. I'll just briefly talk about the SATs and ACTs. All right. Let's just pretend there is no such thing as test optional. All right. Colleges do not have a preference between SAT or ACT. The history behind it here is the SAT was an East Coast test, the ACT was a West Coast test. But because of technology and the competitive nature of colleges, many students now take one of each to see which one's a better test for them. All of you, I'm assuming, took the PSATs. All right. So I think on the East Coast, we're kind of conditioned to say you're definitely taking the SATs. That's okay. All right. Who here, by a show of hands here, feel like they're a really good math and science student? Okay, you might want to consider the ACT. All right. The ACT, the biggest difference here is that they have a science section to it, which is mainly graphs and charts. But the difference here is the ACT is a knowledge test. They're basically saying, tell us what you know as quickly as possible. Here's 50 questions. You got 35 minutes. Go. There's no strategy. There's no reasoning. There's no games. All right. The SAT, it's all strategy. All right. And the math is a little bit different. It's very algebraic and a lot of geometry. The ACT is a lot of trig and a lot of calculus. So if you're a student what math class are you in right now?
Algebra 2.
The ACT would be, I think, a tough test. All right. So the SAT, because it's very algebraic, you just need to brush up on your algebra 1 and your geometry. All right. Now, the other part of the ACT, the reading, the vocab is challenging. It's, again, you don't have time to think. When we read something, we always have to take time and say, okay, what did I just read? All right. The SAT gives you time to say, okay, 30 questions, 45 minutes, let's go. ACT doesn't do that. So it really just depends on what your style is. If you're the type of student that says, I like to take my time, I like to read and process information, which I think is like 80% of us here, the SAT is the best test. Then you have your others, who's like, I'm a robot. I can just go right in here. I don't need to think. I just know the answer. The ACT is the right test for you. Hear me out here. Colleges do not have a preference. They will take either or. There's not a single college out there that says we prefer the SAT over the ACT. We prefer the ACT over the SAT or vice versa. So I normally say try one of each, but at the same time, when I meet with families, I'd like, you know what? You're an SAT kid based on your courses, based on your transcript, based on your grades here. So if you feel like, you know what, I'm going to try it, let me see how I do, then you can try it. Questions about that? All right. Let me go into this piece right here. All right. Your college essay. All right. Someone just volunteered to me. What do you think what is the college essay? What do you think it should be about? Yeah, it can be about yourself. That's a good start. What else?
Your motivation to major in what you apply for.
Yeah.
It's a good answer. It's a wrong answer, but it's a good answer. All right. What else? Okay, let me start with the disclaimer. This is the hardest part. Okay. I promise you, even my services, what I do with people here, applying to college is pretty easy. I'm sorry. Filling out the college application is pretty easy. What's your name? What's your address? Your high school information, parents' information, GPA, what courses have you taken? Then at the end, says upload your college essay. That's where everyone gets stuck with. All right. So just shout it out to me. All right. We think that the college essay should be about yourself. We think.
Why you need to be in this college?
Oh, that's a wrong answer. You're not applying to just one college. So I can't sit here and say, I want to go to NJIT and then say the same thing to 10 other colleges here. All right. Yes.
Maybe writing about successful struggles.
Oh, good answer. All right. You probably heard my sweet things. Okay. So it's not like I'm how you doing. All right. So here's the thing about this. I'm gonna go back to this here. What story do you get out of this transcript? Good student, bad student, hard worker, very good student. I cannot write a college essay that says I'm a hard worker. I can figure out this story in 5 seconds. In 5 seconds, I could say, This is an exceptional student who's taken multiple honors and AP courses. Your college essay has to be a story beyond the numbers, behind the numbers. All right, I'm going to tell you what this student's college essay was. All right, and it's going to make you think about the numbers even better. You have to do a little soul searching here. All right, if this is our school, if this is Penn State, and we all apply to Penn State University, what is the one thing Penn State University needs to know about you? It's not about why you want to come to Penn State. I need to know your story in 650 words or less, which is a page and a half. Tell me your story. And all of us here have a different story. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 8 of us here. They're going to read 8 compelling stories. Why is your story more compelling than his story? All right. That's what you need to figure out. That's the hardest part about this whole process here. So my story back in 1999 will not work in the year 2025. Just doesn't work. All right. So I'll tell you what this girl's story was here. Okay. She was definitely one of my students here. So right now we've established her GPA was a 101 GPA, which basically comes out to a 4.1, 4.2. Her story, her college essay was, my parents were going through a really nasty divorce. They were pulling me in 10 different directions here. I hated my home life, so I had to go to Starbucks every single day to get my homework done. What does that do to her GPA?
What was it?
It looks so much better because she didn't have the comfort of staying in her house, all right, and having tutors or having a calm home here. She basically said, my life was in shambles, but I took ownership of it. I couldn't change what I had to do, and I pivoted in a different direction. I don't want to say it's a simple story, right? But it was her story. It was her trauma, and she didn't make excuses. That's the whole thing. She says, this is what's happening here. My parents are going through a nasty divorce. I'm in the middle. I'm an only child, and I just didn't want to be part of it anymore. So I removed myself in the situation, and I focused everything about me. When I read that story, I'm like, that 101 GPA feels like a 120, right? Because you showed grit, you showed grit, you showed resilience, you showed determination, you showed leadership, and you also showed vulnerability. You were vulnerable. You're saying, this is my story. You don't see that anywhere in this transcript here. That's what your college essay needs to be about. Your essay needs to be about you, what it's all about, what we need to know. So you got to do a little soul searching here. So couple college essay mistakes. All right. And I'll wrap up right over here. All right. So we mentioned here why you want to go to this college. Not good. You mentioned about, why it's going to be about you. Not good. You have to stay away from political topics. You just have to. All right. So regardless of what your position is, all right, even the current climate of whoever the president is, whatever it is here, it's not good. The person who's reading your application, you can't make that assumption that they feel the same way like you do. All right. So to me, I'd stay away from politics. I would stay away from saving the world. I went to build a school in South America. College is going to say, yeah, okay, sure. Not believable, not genuine. You can't sit here and say, yeah, during my research internship, I helped cure cancer. No, we didn't, right? You cannot embellish. They want something that's a human side of who you are here. I worked with someone last year. She wrote a college essay about her grandfather, how he came from, he was born in Pakistan, went to Saudi Arabia, this and that. I read the college essay. I'm like, man, your grandfather sounds like an awesome, awesome human being. I learned nothing about you. Your grandfather is not applying to this college. You are. So the story has to be about you. It cannot be about someone else here. You have to be a little bit selfish about this. All right. So what my recommendation is, when you think about the college essay, don't tell them what they want to hear. Tell them your story. All right. And be authentic. Be genuine here. You may think, like, I don't have nothing to offer. Yes, you do. That's why you can't wait till October 15th of your senior year to apply, because the college essay requires some soul searching here. All right. I had a student who's a senior right now. She wrote how listening to her Spotify playlist is very therapeutic for her. She goes through she has a lot of test anxiety. She listens to music. It calms her down. She's like, that's my college essay, right? That's a real story about her. Now, you guys might think there's nothing remarkable about that, but for her mental health, that was her savior. So I know everyone's going to go on Google and go on TikTok and say, what is a good college essay? And I'm pretty confident most of them will say, be authentic, be genuine, right? You don't have to prove to them that you're saving the world. You're only 17, 18-year-olds applying to colleges. So just keep that in mind here. So it's totally okay to talk about hardships. It's totally okay to write about family dynamics and how you got through it. It's totally okay to talk about something that you're really, really proud of that you don't see here, right? And you can be proud about your grades. You just can't say I'm a hard worker because I see that right here. Look beyond the numbers. All right. Questions for me? Yes.
I have to leave, I'm sorry, I teach
Okay.
class.
Good luck. Go. You can't be late for your students here. All right. So
Is there any way
Yeah.
to get your?
yes, I can give you this right here. So I talked briefly about the SATs and ACTs. All right. So there you go. Okay, very good.
Get yours too.
That's exactly what I am trying to get for you because I have it here.
So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Kaiser here. He'll do his SAT, ACT thing here. So just so you know, I just briefly talked about the ACTs and SATs. Not too much about the strategies and everything like that here. So
Appreciate it. Thank you.
after his thing here, I'll be here if you want to just ask me, specific questions about
Thank you.
your situation, and I'll stick around.
Thank you so much.
Just like.
Just connect the.
Right here, AC my feet. Okay.
Thank you for saving my day.
No problem. No problem.
AGE,
I can't. Yeah.
AGE, greatness and excellence. He used to be in gifted and talented. Before.
Got it. Okay. That's an choice.
Part, yeah.
Okay. I think we're going to be appropriate right now. Okay, so I know that. It's a small school, right?
Yeah.
All right. right.
Thank you so much.
Best of luck. All right. Thank you. Someone come.
Okay, Assalamualaikum everyone. So, sorry I'm late. And so I prayed. I actually came like half hour up just to make sure that I do not, I'm not late. So I came to MCMC Piscataway. That's about half hour, and generally it should take about 45 minutes, right? Then I come to the parking lot and I check how long it will take. 1 hour, 40 minutes. Doesn't matter if I take 27 Garden State or Turnpike. Okay. It is what it is. It is nothing I could do. So I 5 years back, my stress level would have gone very high. My cortisol would have gone, skyrocketing. But these days, maybe because I have crossed a significant threshold in my life a couple of years back, year 16, I kind of, have decided that, am I dying here? Is this a life and death situation? No. Am I, maybe, you would think that this guy is no good. Please don't. But that's the worst that can happen. Why is he late for, he's making us wait.
No.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. But, I'm just saying that is the worst that can happen. That's what I said, okay, is there anything I can do? So these days, whenever I'm in a bad situation, the first question is there something I can do about it? If I can, I will. If there is none, then don't worry about it. And Alhamdulillah, it generally serves me well because I can get very anxious very quickly. And Alhamdulillah, I did not and I don't anymore. Okay, so with that out of the way, again, Brother Rehan, I actually wanted to see his presentation. Sorry for missing it, brother.
That's okay.
But Alhamdulillah, we probably will complement each other's presentation. And what I'm going to do is I will make sure, we spoke and we decided that each of us will try to stay within 20 minutes so that if you have questions, we can answer those questions, right? And again, this is about college admission. So, things will be same. So again, I always start with this one, Surah Al. Anybody remember, why is this an important surah? Think order of regulation. What was the first ayah ever revealed? Iqra, right? And then Rasulullah said, I could not read. And then what did Jibril? Embraced him, right? And then these 5 ayah came down. And one of the boys, do you want to recite Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim? Any of you?
It's okay.
No one wants to? Okay. Iqra Bismi Rabbikal Ladzi Khalaq, Khalaqal Insana Min Alaq. Iqra wa Rabbukal Akram, Allazi Allama bil Qalam, Allama al Insana ma lam ya'lam. What does it mean? It means read in the name of your Lord who has created. He has created man from a clock. Read, and your Lord is the most generous, who has taught by the pen, and he has taught man which he knew not. This last one always, gets me that we, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, every knowledge we have, that's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, number one. And this is one of those places where, which tells us how important knowledge is, right? This is a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to learn. Okay, I am kind of going to do, so, this is me. I did not put any of the, I started taking the years out because I don't want, I already told you how old I am, but in some audience, I would not tell them how old I am. So I took out when I graduated. So I did my undergrad from India, although I'm from Bangladesh. And then I got my master's and PhD from the University of Rochester, very cold place. And the coldest day of my life was in Rochester, New York, 50 degrees below zero, real temperature, 70 degrees below zero with wind chill. How cold is it? If you spit, your spit actually will burst before it hits the ground. Did you know this? Okay. So at least you're learning something. Second one was, that day, so my research actually was in medical imaging. So I had to go to the hospitals and scan patients with ultrasound. That day, there was a patient scheduled and I called and they said, no, the patient is not canceled. 70 degrees below zero. No cancellation. This is Rochester for you. Okay. So I am walking into the hospital. There is a wind tunnel effect. I am getting in. My eyes started freezing. I could not blink. I got so afraid that I was going to lose my eye. Okay. So, I had been teaching for a while. I had done some research. 2013 was the last time when I actually was employed in this area. And then, I have moved on. So, Brother Rehan already, talked about a lot of these, but what are the things that the college admissions officers do? So one thing is GPA. GPA is extremely important. And yes, I know I saw the last part of this presentation where a lower GPA can be, for a reason. And yes, the colleges will, take that into account, right? Coursework rigor. Did you take the hardest course that you could have taken? SAT and ACT, if you submit it and you should submit it. I know that it is kind of self-serving a little bit because that's what I do. But this also, Yale University in one of their podcasts, they actually published since 2020, they published that if you submit an SAT or ACT score, the probability of you getting accepted is 6%. If you don't, can you guess what the probability is? So 6% with an SAT score, but if you don't submit one.
2.
You have heard of that. That's actually exactly. So 6% and 2%. Extracurricular activities, again, I'm sure Brother Rehan talked about it quite a bit. But what you want to do is you want to be excellent in a few and not like have a bunch of them and not good in any of them, right? And then, there's demonstrated interest, letter of recommendation, work and internship experience, volunteering, essay, and legacy. Legacy is used by 73 of the top 75 institutions. The two that don't use it are MIT and Caltech. And you see a trend here? Massachusetts Institute of Technology and California Institute of Technology. For some reason, these two don't. Okay. And I think, he again probably talked about, when you should start prepping. So I am not going to go too much, but I'll tell you this much that you should not begin thinking about it in your late 11th grade. That's too late. You probably should not be coming to either of us in your 8th grade because that's too early. If any parent comes to me for SAT prep, I always ask whether that student has taken Algebra 2 or not. Unless that student is like halfway into Algebra 2, I don't take that student because the student does not have all the math knowledge. Because ultimately it's my reputation on the line, right? And if the student doesn't do well, the parent will think that I'm no good. So generally speaking, I tell parents to make sure that they have done half of Algebra 2. Generally, then they know all the math. But you yourself should start thinking about this much, much earlier, right? And again, so 8th grade, you want to do like, you have to have strong academics. You should basically are laying the groundwork and try many extracurricular. 9th grade, your grades are on record now, those who go to college. So you have to really do well, test prep. No direct test prep, but you should, unless you are already taking Algebra 2 in 9th grade, and some students do. Otherwise, you are just, making sure that your English and math, you're doing very well. And you can do a PSAT 8-9 practice. And extracurricular, now you are narrowing it down. 10th grade, you still are maintaining your high GPA coursework. Test prep, now you are taking the PSAT 10. You are practicing for the PSAT and MSQT because next year you will take it, right? Extracurricular, now you are deepening your involvement in a P1 and you want to have a productive summer. Since I'm trying to finish in 20 minutes, I will go through some of this fast. Now, this is your most difficult year, right? Anyone in 11th grade? Okay, so you know what I mean, right? This is the hardest year. And then 2 years later, you will be in college and you will find that this was nothing but what in the pump, right? Okay. So and then you are actually, you should shoot for PSAT and NMSQT because that's where you actually can get, your college could be free. If you are a semi-finalist in many colleges, you will not have to pay at least the tuition, right? And then I really want my students to be done with their SAT in the fall of their 11th grade. Very few do, but if you're done in the fall, then you don't have to worry about it ever in your life. And second year of your second part of your second semester of your 11th grade is very good. And this is where you are continuing to excel, right? And you want to demonstrate leadership, passion, and impact. And this summer has to be really productive because this is when you are applying after the summer, right? And then you think, so do not get senioritis. Why? Because your first semester GPA is still going to colleges, right? If you really need, and I have had a situation where a student got a 1450 and wanted a 1550. So, and she is now a senior and calls me up in July. Guess what happened?
She got it.
She actually missed it by 10 points, but still 1540 was not a bad score to get. So she was happy. She was happy. And you want to still continue your active involvement. And now, college application, right? So this is my area, SAT prep. And this is what I do basically these days full time. Oh, I did not even tell you that last 4 years, not like this year I'm not doing, last 4 years I actually taught physics because I'm an engineer. See, physics is my bread and butter, right? So I taught physics at Nurul Iman. Anybody knows what Nurul Iman is? Nurul Iman School is probably one of the top 10 Islamic schools in the whole nation. Actually, I think this, like New Jersey, New York, New Jersey area has 3 of the top 10 in the nation. Okay. Okay. So SAT is optional in many, but not all schools. Should I still submit an SAT score? And I think I already gave you the answer that you should if you have a good enough score. So when should you submit? If you score above 1500, submit the score no matter where you're applying. You absolutely should submit it. If you do not take the test or you score in the bottom 25 percentile, then do the best with your application.
Sorry, can I record you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
No issues. And if you want, I'm recording, I can actually also send you a copy.
You'll be fine? Okay.
I'm very careful about what I say. But again, I try to be funny, not offensive, right? Okay. But again, as I was saying that, so this is first. For some schools, a 1500 would be in the bottom 25%. For example, Princeton. If you are applying to Princeton and you got a 1510, do you submit your SAT score? Yes, you do. 1500 up, you definitely submit, and I'll give you a couple of anecdotes. I had 2 students, both with a 1520, got accepted into one to Princeton, the other one into Cornell. So 1500 plus you submit, but if you did not, then you do not want to submit if you're in the bottom 25%. And if you score in the top 25% of the school's program, submit it, no matter what. So if you are in the top 25% or above 15%, you are submitting your score. And if you are in that 25 to 50%, it probably still helps, is my thinking, right? So these are a few of the universities where the testing requirements are back. You will see that, that has MIT, Harvard, Stanford, all the way to University of Georgia, which is number 47. And and this list is actually growing. So some places you will, and I think I already said this, right? And even in test blind places, SAT plays a role in scholarships or placement, right? And digital SAT, it went digital in March 24. It went digital for international in March 2023. And there are a few changes. So proto test, it's now 2 hours and 9 minutes, or no, 1 second, 70 plus 64. So yeah, 2 hours and 9 minutes, I put it. 14 minutes. I would fail SAT math if I did it like this.
2 hours and 14 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. You're correct. So there are 2 sections, English and math. And now each section has 2 modules. And what happens is the test is now adaptive because they reduce the number of questions. They will actually have to put you in one of 2 buckets with module 1. Either you are like above 600 material or you are below 600 material. If you missed too many questions, generally more than 6 will be considered too many. You will get the easy module 2. If you get the easy module 2, your score for that section is capped at, anybody knows what that number is? 580. You will not get more than 580 even if you score every question correctly, you will not get 580. So you want to get the harder module, right? And if you get the harder module, then you can go up to 800. Given how many mistakes you make. Okay, one thing I don't know if I have this in the presentation, and I'll finish in the next 5 minutes because we promised to finish in 20 minutes. But in math, will you lose more points if you made a mistake with math module 1 question 1, which is probably the easiest question in the entire test, or you lose more points if you got the harder module 2 and made a mistake on question 22, which is most likely the hardest questions. So if you were given a choice to miss either an easy question or a hard question in math, which one would you rather miss?
Hard question.
You'd rather miss harder question. Okay, why?
Because it's less points.
You lose less points if you miss the harder question. You're correct. Many do not know this. You have to be really careful in the first 10 questions in both modules. You don't want to miss any of those if you want to score a high SAT score, right? And the other thing is now there is only one question per passage, and they have somehow managed to still keep it very hard. A good recommendation letter is important. You have to choose the right teacher. Who's the right teacher? You should have a good relationship with that teacher. You always butt heads with this guy, and then you ask for a recommendation and he gives you a big smile. Okay, I got you. You don't want to do that, right? The teacher should know about you and should be able to cite specific examples. I actually had to write, because I taught last year, I wrote 6 so far, and I'll have to write 1 more. In every single letter, I try to cite 2 anecdotes about my interaction with that student. Not a lot of teachers do this, and generic recommendations are bad. Sometimes my students get upset. I am asking so many questions to give me all those details. What they don't understand is I am trying to make that recommendation letter strong. And the third thing is, if the teacher doesn't write well, what do you think the college admissions officer will think about you? Really poorly written letter.
I'm not going to think good of you.
So the teacher, with that recommendation, made your application weak. And these days, if you ask me, no one should write a bad letter. Why? What could that teacher have done? Read it through. Exactly, write the letter and ask ChatGPT to fix it, right? At least fix the grammar, at least at a minimum. If you do not want, I don't think the college admissions officer will check the recommendation for any, AI thingy. But even if they did, I generally personally, whenever I pass any of my writing to ChatGPT, I just ask it to only fix grammar and any flow thingy. I don't want it to mess with my whole writing, because then my style is taken out, right? I want me to be, in that whatever I wrote. Okay. And I am going to just go and pay. I think did Brother Rehan talk about how to pay for college? Okay, in just a couple of minutes, let's see. So the thing is, how you can pay. Basically, sometimes parents are able to pay. Then there's financial aid, scholarships, grants, fellowships, work study program, employer assistance. There are loans and might involve interest, and but there are quite a few Muslim organizations that are actually doing this no interest loan, right? So look into those. Yes, they cannot fund everybody, but they will fund a lot of people. I'll just quickly say that no merit scholarships at Ivy League schools, for the simple reason that everybody that's applying have merit, but they will pay basically the 100% of demonstrating needs. Okay, I'm gonna, let's see. And scholarships are gifts. There are no repayments. You have to apply for some of those, and some of are automatic. The college will consider you as long as you tick that button somewhere. they will consider you for the scholarships. And you will find that, some people get a lot of money. I know somebody, a person within the family who got basically the whole tuition waived and another $2,000 every year. So, which was pretty good. Like, the parent was very, very happy. And I will just, I do have some other slides, but since it's 20th minute, I will just say this and that. Anytime you are applying for a scholarship, apply well ahead of deadline, because the money might run out before the deadline. And with that, there might be, there are a few other slides, but I am not, I'm not going to exceed my time. So I will end here, inshallah. Any questions for me?
You recommended juniors to take the SAT in the fall, but if they haven't yet, when is the next best time?
So if a junior has not taken it in the fall, I will recommend that the junior prepares and take the March one. Okay, most likely, see the reason I say fall, because you had basically the August, September, October, and November, and December. 5 of them. If you took the August one, then you will have a pretty good idea where you stand, and then you could, by December, you could be done with it. But if that student did not take it, then at least in March, he or she should make sure that he or she knows exactly where he or she stands. If you are applying early action, October is basically the last one you can take, although some schools will take the November one, but you cannot be sure, right? So that means, if you take the March one, you do still have a few attempts, but it gets kind of hairy. And I personally don't like to get into a hairy situation, which I did on my way here. But which is why, and the other thing is that if you prep for your August test, the other thing I advise you is PSAT is basically a SAT. So you have, if you are shooting for the National Merit Scholarship, you better be prepared. And if you prepared for the SAT, you are prepared for the PSAT. Anybody else with any other questions? Boy, I must have done a phenomenal job, because
So actually, we're gonna allow you to have a table, and then Ray will have another table, and you'll alternate. So whoever goes on one-to-one with him, then you can come back on one-to-one with Dr. Gazer. So that way you get to speak with, you have about 42 minutes left, I guess, until 8. So you guys are more than welcome who you want to be with. So don't worry, you're gonna get big questions a lot.
inshallah.
So I guess you can take a chair on that side, and then Brother Ray, you can take a chair. Well, there's no chair there.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, sorry.
You also put one here, right?
Yeah, we'll put the chair.
Then one over.
Yes.
Okay.
So don't be shy. This is your chance to ask questions. You told them you do SAT preps as well, right? Courses? Did you explain that to them? I don't
So
think.
I did not get, I generally don't like to make.
Yeah, he also does SAT. Yeah, just gonna get.
Yeah, so I don't like to make these into marketing thingy, because I am here to help out the community. No, I don't, I have